This is the tactical briefing room. The target is not a ship, it is the lion under the ocean. Undersea fiber-optic cables carry the hidden traffic of the modern state. Finance, cloud services, military coordination, government communications, energy market data, and ordinary civilian internet flow. They are strategic because they are both critical and physically thin. They connect continents, yet much of the system is still a cable on the seabed, a landing station on shore, a repeater chain in deep water, and a small number of specialized repair assets that keep the whole network alive. That combination creates a gray zone target. A cable fault can be accidental. Fishing gear, anchors, seabed movement, storms, and poor seamanship all damage infrastructure. But a cable can also be mapped, disturbed, cut, or exploited by an actor that wants to impose cost without crossing the threshold of open naval combat. The ambiguity is built into the medium. The first visible sign is often not an explosion. It is an outage, a latency shift, a traffic reroute, or a repair request. The North Atlantic and Arctic make the problem harder than it looks on a map. This is not just open ocean between North America and Europe. It is a reinforcement corridor, a submarine operating space, a civil commercial data artery, and an increasingly important northern route environment. The Arctic adds ice, sparse ports, long distances, limited local repair capacity, and a smaller sensor footprint. In simple terms, the infrastructure becomes harder to watch and slower to fix at exactly the moment its strategic value is increasing. A cable system has four main components worth remembering. First is the landing point, the place where the cable comes ashore and enters the terrestrial network. Second is the shallow water segment, where anchors, trawlers, dredging, and coastal traffic create the most routine physical danger. Third is the deep water segment, where access is harder but attribution can also be slower. Fourth is the repeater and power architecture that keeps long-haul transmission working across distance. The cable is not just a rope with bits flowing through it, it is an engineered system that depends on a chain of vulnerable nodes and support functions. That creates three vulnerability zones. Zone 1 is the shore and landing environment. It is exposed, physically reachable, and connected to visible infrastructure. But it can also be guarded more directly with access control, cameras, fencing, and redundant routing. Zone 2 is shallow water. This is the noisiest zone. Civilian maritime activity is dense, faults are more common, and hostile action can hide inside ordinary vessel behavior. A grapnel, anchor drag, or suspicious loiter pattern is hard to interpret quickly when the same waters also contain legitimate fishing and coastal traffic. Zone 3 is deep water. Fewer vessels can operate there effectively, but the actors that can matter more. Research ships, specialized auxiliaries, submarines, ROVs, and UUVs. The technical barrier is higher, yet the forensic timeline can be longer because the fault is farther from immediate observation and the repair chain is slower. The threat model has four families. First is mapping. A survey ship, research vessel, or seabed mission can collect route familiarity, cable context, and environmental data without visibly breaking anything. Mapping is preparation. It narrows uncertainty for the attacker and widens uncertainty for the detainer later. Second is physical damage. That can mean a dragged anchor, grapnel-style interference, subsea tool work, or another method that creates a fault while preserving ambiguity. The point is not merely to sever one line. The real danger is synchronized or repeated damage that forces traffic onto fewer surviving paths. Third is exploitation or manipulation. At briefing level, the important point is not the exact method. It is that the system includes landing stations, network management layers, repeaters, and power feed dependencies. An actor does not always need a spectacular cut to create strategic effect. Fourth is combined cyber-physical pressure. A physical cable incident can coincide with cyber activity against providers, routing, network management, port logistics, or repair coordination. The attacker may not be trying to turn off the entire internet. It may only need to create congestion, delay, market uncertainty, or command friction at the wrong time. This is why repair capacity matters almost as much as protection. Cable repair ships are specialized, slow to position, and constrained by weather, access, and workload. If there are multiple faults across a region, repair becomes a prioritization problem. If the weather window is poor, the disruption lasts longer. If the affected area is far north with sparse support infrastructure, every operational delay multiplies. The visual model is a layered seabed operating picture. At the top, surface ships, patrol aircraft, satellites, and command centers. In the middle, traffic routes, suspected loiter patterns, and repair dispatch decisions. On the seabed, cables, repeaters, sensors, ROVs, and UUVs. The point is that cable warfare is not one dramatic attack. It is a systems contest involving surveillance, attribution, resilience, and restoration. Attribution is the central tactical problem. When a fault appears, the first question is technical. Where did the failure occur? The second is maritime. What vessels were nearby? At what speed? With what track behavior? The third is forensic. What kind of physical disturbance is consistent with the damage? The fourth is intelligence. Who had motive, capability, and timing? Only then comes the public proof problem. What can a government say without exposing sources or overstating the case? That delay is the attack surface. A gray zone actor wants the defender trapped between two bad options. Respond too strongly and risk escalation on incomplete evidence. Respond too weakly and normalize strategic attacks on civilian infrastructure. In the North Atlantic and Arctic, that dilemma is sharper because the geography is broad, the operating conditions are harsh, and the same infrastructure serves both civilian prosperity and military continuity. Defense therefore has to be layered. First, redundancy and rerouting. Traffic has to move somewhere else when a line fails, even if that means higher latency, congestion, or temporary loss of performance. Second, maritime domain awareness, suspicious loiter, AIS gaps, route tracing, gear drag patterns, and vessel correlation near known infrastructure corridors. Third, sensing, acoustic monitoring, fiber sensing, seabed systems, patrol aircraft, satellite collection, and anomaly detection. Fourth, repair readiness, contracts, repair ships, spare capacity, weather planning, and legal access to operate quickly. Fifth, public-private coordination, cable owners, network operators, navies, coast guards, intelligence agencies, and repair firms sharing enough information to see the pattern before a fault becomes a crisis. That final layer is the hardest. Cable warfare is not purely a Navy problem and not purely a telecom problem. It sits in the seam between commercial infrastructure and national security. If the commercial side holds the network map while the state holds the threat picture, and the two do not fuse in time, the defender sees the pattern too late. The cables do not need to be destroyed to create strategic effect. They only need to become uncertain when a government, market, or command system needs confidence. That is undersea cable warfare, not the severing of one line, the manipulation of trust, capacity, and repair time in the network beneath the sea.